Hi everyone, my name is Merijn. Most people know me as the plastic soup surfer. Why that name? Because I use surfboards to take action against plastic pollution. Now I live in the Netherlands and for more than 10 years I've been working to stop plastic ending up in nature. Not just by cleaning up though. What I do is I go up to leaders, to ministers and to big companies in the Netherlands, but also to other European countries, and I've even been to Africa. It's where the leaders are that the real decisions are made, you see. If they change things, then things really start to shift. How do I do that? How do I even get through to those leaders and politicians? Well, I came up with something special. I do expeditions and surfing adventures to get their attention. Who in your class has ever tried kite surfing or seen someone kite surf? Well, I kite surfed all the way across the North Sea from the Netherlands to England, 180 kilometers. Why? To ask deposits on bottles and cans. And guess what? 60,000 people actually helped me and signed my petition. And that got adopted by Parliament, and now there's 80% less littered cans and bottles in the Netherlands. So with that success, I kept on going. I surfed from Oslo to London and from Paris. Now I'm even going to Rome. And along the way, I met with mayors and other officials on the shores and on the riverbanks. Why? Well, very obvious, plastic waste is everywhere, not just in the Netherlands. And it's only when leaders of all these countries act together that we can make a difference. And here's the funny thing, if you do something wild, like cross an ocean on a surfboard made from plastic, suddenly people pay attention and journalists write about it. Politicians have to respond. And then plastic waste is suddenly at the top of their list. But why, you might ask yourself, do I do all this? Why all this effort? Well, it's because I saw that plastic pollution myself on my own beach. I saw it washing up the plastic and I thought, this has to stop. And that's why I built a surfboard out of that waste I found on the beach, just to show how bad it is. And plastic is not just ugly for the eye to see, it's a serious problem. It breaks up in smaller pieces, microplastics. It's in rivers, in lakes, and it's in our bodies. Pretty serious. Lots of people really do want to use less plastic, probably you too. But what really helps? Rules. Because rules apply to everyone, to you, to me, but also to the companies that make all that plastic. That's why I go up to these politicians. They can make laws that everybody has to follow, and that's when real change happens. So what about you? Do you have to cross an ocean? I don't think so, no way. At home or in class, you can use something simple like a reusable bottle and not make any plastic waste, or a lunchbox, or your own bag, take it to school. And at school, well, you can help keep the playground clean, or in your neighborhood, you can help clean up or write a letter to someone that makes rules, maybe the head of your school. It's small actions, but together, all these small actions become a huge wave. And that's also why I like Plastic Clever Schools so much, because you don't just learn what the problem is, you also do something about it with projects and workshops. You show that your school can actually use less plastic, and that really makes a difference. And today is special because you're not alone. Schools everywhere are joining in. And well, maybe you think, we're just one class, but imagine thousands of schools all at the same time. That's very powerful, that's huge. And it shows all the leaders, companies and politicians, look, kids care about this. And if kids care well, then adults have to follow. Thank you. This was Merijn Tinga, the plastic soup surfer from the Netherlands.
Okay, hi everyone. I'm Stacey Alvarez with Plastic Clever Schools here in Barbados. I am at Grisette's Primary School, and I'm here with Merijn, who is known as the Plastic Soup Surfer. and we're gonna hear some information from him, and we're gonna have a talk.
Hi everyone. My name is Merijn Tinga, plastic soup surfer. You just saw my small video, and if you have any questions, well, just drop them in the chat. Something happened to Stacy. Oh, there she is.
Here, we know it goes technology.
Yeah.
Super. Okay, so what we will do is we will go to our first question, which is the most basic question. What is plastic soup? That's the
Plastic
question
soup.
kids want to know.
Yeah, so plastic soup is, I think it's a pretty Dutch word, but or it's a phrase we use in the Netherlands a lot, where I'm from. So the Netherlands is in Europe, and it is actually the spot where all the plastic pollution that washes up, that is spilled into the ocean, comes together. So you've got these giant currents in the ocean, and it all concentrates plastic packaging and stuff that is spilled into the ocean. It all is concentrated in the middle of the ocean, and that's what you call the plastic soup. So sort of a soup with plastic. And
Wow.
but it's also, plastic soup is also just the stuff that is the plastic that is that drifts in the seas. And I use that, the stuff that drifted onto the Dutch beach, to make a surfboard. And on that surfboard, I did an expedition. I did a long trip, and that's why I'm called the plastic soup surfer. So I surf on a board made from plastic soup. So I'm the plastic soup surfer.
Oh, wow. So that I think that is really interesting that you made a surfboard from plastic and
Yeah,
from, elements of plastic and plastic soup. So you took something that was basically garbage and you made it into a surfboard. And was that the first time you'd ever built a surfboard?
that was the first time I ever built a surfboard. I had repaired, that's where the idea came from actually. I'd repaired an old surfboard, a fin which broke off. And when I had to repair that, then I thought, if I can repair a fin, I might as well build a surfboard. But I'd never built a surfboard before. So I started collecting trash from the beach, and with an iron rod and a gas torch, I just pressed it together
Wow.
and made that surfboard as a statement to show that there's just too much trash in our seas. So this was really about awareness.
Okay, thanks. So you talk about awareness, which leads really nicely into the next question about being an activist. Because being an activist is about raising awareness. Is that something you've always wanted to do? The children would love to know. Or did you have other, more traditional ideas like fireman or something else? What did you always want to be an activist?
I actually became a biologist, and that's
Okay.
how I sort of, the knowledge that when plastic, it does not biodegrade, it never goes away, it breaks up into smaller pieces, eaten by fish, taken up in the food chain. That's really what was the inspiration to build this first board. Now, I've always had a strong opinion on things. Also, as an artist, as a sculptor, I made sculptures on various subjects. So yeah, somehow, even though I wouldn't call it that way, I've always been a sort of an activist. So I always wanted to speak out about things. I think that's important for the kids as well, for everyone, that you should. And once you do that, you will meet other people's like-minded people, and they will come with you on that journey, and you will develop yourselves in the subject. So it's very important, I guess, just to start.
That's awesome. So I think one question that really was a burning one is what's the most exciting expedition you've ever been on? An expedition is not just a trip, it's a long journey. Was there ever a really exciting one you can share with us?
I've been on 11 expeditions, so there's been very many. So one of the last ones was actually windsurfing from the capital of Norway all the way
Wow.
in the north of Europe to London, which is in England, of course, which was 1,800 kilometers
Wow.
on a windsurfing board made with plastic waste I took from the Thames. so the river which flows through London.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my goodness. So that's great. So you have this history of doing things that are, recycling and reusing. So I think that's fantastic.
Yep.
So I think on those journeys, you must have time sometimes to think a lot when you're not dealing with the elements.
Sure.
And is there like an important lesson that you learned while you were on any of these expeditions or, these life journeys that you took?
Well, for sure, and I'd like to point out that the things I do are mostly focused not only on awareness, because of course, it's important for us all to be aware that, well, first of all, there is a problem, but most problems are not fixed by consumers or by kids or by regular people. They're fixed in the end by politicians and by companies which have the power to actually change things, and we should use our mutual power to change these people. And that's what I try to do with my expeditions as well. So on the one hand, it's about awareness, just telling people that we have a problem, but then I go up to the politicians and to the companies and tell them, you should change things. And
Yeah.
one thing I'm really fighting for is deposit return scheme. Now I don't know whether you have that in
We do.
Barbados.
We do. That's been actually a real important aspect of our national action plan to be able
Great.
to return things. Yes.
So then you probably also know that by introducing a deposit return scheme, so people have to bring back their bottles to the stores,
Exactly.
you also you have a lot less litter, so 80%
Yes.
less littering because of a scheme like this. But it takes all these politicians, it takes all these companies to come together and to make agreements, I guess, and laws that they should abide by uh, to get this system in place. And I think this is an important aspect of activism, is to get these people together to do things like this.
Yeah, so bringing people together. I love that idea about activism because sometimes we see activism as, you're shouting about what's wrong and you're talking about the problems, but we have to remember to bring people together for solutions as well. So, I
Exactly.
mean, if you've been on these journeys, I mean, that's some positive things, but have you had any really scary moments while you've been out there windsurfing from Norway to London?
Yeah, I've had very many scary moments actually. I've been in places in well, one of the most scary moments actually where I really feared for my life was actually in the front of the port of Rotterdam. Rotterdam is one of the biggest
Yeah.
harbors in the world. You have these big freighter ships going in and out, and the current was against me, huge waves, 3 meter waves, and I was in between that, and well, I was afraid to crash into the pier. I was being pushed into the pier. It all worked out in the end, but I've had scary moments for sure. I
Gosh.
actually just a fun story for the kids in Barbados as well. I learned to windsurf in Curacao. So Curacao
Okay, so
lived
you have been to the Caribbean because that's one
I
of our
lived, yeah, I
questions.
lived
Have you ever been
in
here?
Curacao for a year when I was
Nice.
8, 9, 10 years old, and that's also
Okay.
where I learned to windsurf back in the day.
Oh, that's wonderful. So you answered one of our questions already, if you've ever
Yeah,
been to the Caribbean. So the next stop to windsurf and surf is going to be Barbados, I think. I'm putting
I
that on
hope so.
you.
Yeah,
So,
a
but I
lot
mean,
warmer.
how do you stay, you talked about that danger, but how do you stay safe and motivated? Like, do you do checks of where you're going? How are you
Sure.
safe and motivated when you're in the face of this danger?
Yeah, sure. Of course, yeah, yeah, sure. I've got a GPS tracker with me. I've got
Okay.
a VHF with me. I've got a team which always knows where I am. So it's not like I can really drown, or I hope so, I hope not, at least. So I always have all these emergency buttons I could press
Okay.
if something really goes wrong. But still, you're out there, you've been on your board for maybe 3 weeks. I sleep
Wow.
on the shore, so I windsurf for a
Wow.
day, and then I sleep under my sail using my
Wow.
stand-up paddle as a shelter. I sleep under my sail in my sleeping bag, and then I windsurf well, the next stage, and that's how I got from Oslo to London, or from London to
Yeah.
Paris, and Paris to Nice, all the expeditions I did. But there's always people watching me in the end. And I guess um, I guess this is also what works in activism. This is also what works in getting people motivated. If you make a journey, you create momentum, as they call it, which just means people pay attention. And as
Yeah,
the finish comes closer, more people start paying attention because you've had all this time, I guess. Uh, well, to tell people I'm about to be there, and it creates a deadline. Well, and as the kids know as well, it's when the deadline comes, when you have to have
yeah,
your homework done, that's when people really start getting into
yeah,
gear, and that's when the
yeah.
action really starts.
Yeah, okay, awesome. So wow, you talked about homework and that brings me to the idea of schools. Do you think there should be more educational space in schools for lessons to do with climate change and the environment? Do you think there's enough being done or do you think there should be more?
Well, in the Netherlands, there's a lot being done already, but I feel that just citizenship is much more
Yeah,
important. What meaning citizenship meaning? Do you, as a person, old or young, in the classroom or at work, have the feeling that you can really influence things? Can you really change things? And this is, I guess, something which could be worked on much more, which could people could be educated on much more, because there are a lot of things you can change,
yeah,
and it all has to do with, like I already said, getting started, just taking that first step, trying to find new people, and in the case of kids, I mean, in all cases, but in the case of these kids, if you have an idea, also reach out to the press, to the media, and have them amplify your message. And I guess these lessons on how you do this, how you create campaigns, could be um, could be very worthwhile for I guess well, for classrooms as well. Apart from just education on what the problems are
yeah.
we are facing, the challenges we are facing.
Yeah, oh, wow, that's cool. I love the idea of amplifying the message and connecting with the media and letting kids know that it is possible to do that, because you have a voice and you should use that voice in a way that's positive. That's great.
Yeah.
I had thought of a question. Your dream exhibition, where is somewhere, expedition, sorry, where is somewhere you'd love to go, but you've not been yet?
Oh, well, I'd love to come to Barbados,
There
that's
you
for sure.
go. Right
Yeah,
answer.
yeah.
Right
Right
answer.
answer. No, but I feel, why am I still in Europe? You might say, okay, Europe is not the place where we have the problem of the plastic pollution is the largest. But I feel it should be people within Barbados that can change things within Barbados. And I'm Dutch. I've changed things in the Netherlands and in Europe. That's, I guess, my habitat. That's where I sort of can talk to people and relate to people. And I feel that if I were to come to Barbados, I'd be sort of an outsider. And I feel it'd be much stronger if you have a I don't know actually how you call that, Barbadian?
You
Somebody
say
from
Bajans. If you
Barbadian.
really
Yeah.
want to say it, we're Bajans, like Rihanna
Bajan. Okay, a
Bajan.
Bajan. So
Yes.
have a
Right,
Bajan
guys? A
plastic soup
Bajan.
surfer.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. A Bajan plastic soup surfer should stand up, I feel, because, well, you know what it is, and you know the people, and you know how to get around, and you have the connections.
That's awesome. So I'm gonna start to wrap it up and think about what is one small thing you would think every student here can do today to stop plastic pollution? Just one small thing.
I feel that classes and schools should make it easy for students to take reusables along. So
Right.
reusable cups, reusable lunch boxes, stuff like
Yeah.
that. And I mean, that's an easy step, and it could make a lot of difference.
Okay, that's super. So what advice now would you give someone who wants to plan an adventure or do something for activism? Because you have like all the lived experience ever. So would you
Yeah.
give any advice to someone?
My advice would be, well, a very simple advice, just to start. You should
Start.
start.
Wow.
Once
I
you
love-
start, you find new people, you start your journey, and others will follow or tag along, and you would develop your journey together.
Oh my gosh, thanks so much for that to start. And that applies to so many other things in life to start. So We want to say thank you. After 3, you're going to hear the kids shout a nice big thank you. 1, 2, 3. So thanks so much.
Thank
We had
you. Thank you.
a wonderful time. Okay, so bye everyone.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.